You didn't go to Vegas.
No, I didn't get to go to the Pac-12 tournament, so it would have been the last
UA
U of A
basketball.
basketball
That's,
game.
yeah, same here.
I think the men played
Washington.
later than the women, so
Yeah.
it would have been the Washington game. So that would have been the
Right.
last
Doesn't it
live game that I went to.
Doesn't it seem like forever?
It seems like 100 years ago.
Yeah.
It really does, and it's funny to sit here and think I haven't watched a live baseball game since then.
Did you watch? So last night was the first time I was flipping through channels trying to find something 10 o'clock ish, and I saw there's a baseball game, and it looks like it's live, and it was.
And it was live, and it was the Dinos from the Korea. I mean,
South Korea somewhere,
something like that. And those guys were actually in Tucson. So the Korean League, some of their teams did spring training here, and they played some games at the stadium.
Oh, really?
And I actually went out and caught a couple of innings of one of those games. My former office was in the stadium.
Right.
So I went out at lunch and sat in the seats. A couple of us went over there during our lunch hour and watched some of that baseball. And it's baseball.
Yeah.
It's real baseball.
Yeah.
It's good baseball. There's some really good looking players there, and we had fun. And I didn't stay up to watch it last night. I watched probably half an inning, but I think I'm gonna probably stay up and watch it.
Did you see the first pitch? How they did it?
I did not.
So it was a little kid. It was kid day at the pub park today, and one of those little bubble balls, whatever it is, the little 10, 12-year-old got in the ball, and he ran to from the pitcher's mound to home plate and handed the catcher the ball.
Oh, that's too funny.
So he wouldn't touch.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, we don't think of stuff like that. We don't think of stuff like that. But it's kind of exciting to see that we're inching closer to having some sports.
Yes.
I'm happy to that they figured it out over there, and they've got some games going on, and I'll watch a little bit just to get my juices
to
flowing.
Remember what it was.
Exactly, but I can't wait for us to have something. I think the first thing we're going to have is the PGA Tour is going to start next month, and I'm looking forward to that.
Right. Well, you kind of watch a lot of golf anyway.
I do watch a lot of golf. I love golf. I was a big Tiger Woods fan. Saw a lot of golf coming through here. Got to cover it. Got to get close to some of those guys. And so I've been a big fan of golf. I play. I'm not very good at it right now, but I play and I enjoy it. My daughter, who's home with us right now, she gives me a hard time about watching golf, and I'm like, I love it.
Yeah,
I can sit down and watch an entire 6 hours of golf on a Sunday.
Wait till these young whippersnappers get old like us and tell
exactly.
Their kids will tell them, "Oh, what the heck you doing?" So that UFC is going on this weekend too, in a big event. Yeah, I think it's in Miami. I could be wrong, but one of the guys that I kind of follow is Henry Cejudo. I don't know if you know who he is.
I'm not a UFC guy. I was a boxing guy.
Yeah,
I was a boxing guy, and I can't wrap my head around UFC. It's hard for me to watch.
As long as other people get their butt kicked and I don't have to be involved, I'm good with it.
I just find it hard to watch.
Henry, I think, is from Phoenix. I've met him a couple times, and in fact, Tom Ortiz is very close to him. So I'm going to try to get him on the show this summer after this fight. Actually, a great story. I think he may have wrestled at the issue. I'm not. There's a connection with Tom Ortiz, so we'll kind of get you acclimated with that. Dude, you don't want to mess with those.
Well,
dudes.
I was going to say, as long as you don't bring him in here and have him show me a thing or two. I do recall being in Vegas, and we were I was just at the front desk for something, and I don't think I was even checking out. I was just there, and there was a big UFC event while we were there, and a guy walked up, and he was probably, I'm 5'9".
He was 6'5",
and he was probably 5'6". But he was scary. He walked up and I looked at his body, and he had this tight shirt on, and I'm like, I would never get in that guy's way.
No.
And one of the clerks at the desk said he was one of the UFC guys, and I'm like, he looks like one, and I would never mess with that guy.
Right, he's out of my weight class, but still
exactly. He probably weighed 100 pounds less than me, and I wouldn't have even thought about going after him.
You even look at me. Okay, I give up. You're tapping the counter.
Exactly.
Well, we expect a good show. We're also going to have
Eric Rhodes from the Arizona Bowl to come and talk about this fundraiser that a bunch of the sports organizations in Tucson are doing. It's a big raffle with a lot of great prizes, and to get really great experiences with the Diamondbacks and the Coyotes and the Cardinals and all the pro teams and some of the college teams in Arizona. So he'll come and tell us how that came together and how you can get in on it.
Great. Let's take our first quick break here. Tom, Mr. Tom Callahan's in here with us too. So let's take our quick first break and come back with Coach Johnson from U of A. Hey, welcome back to Eye on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera in with Jay Gonzales. And now on the phone, we have UA baseball coach Jay Johnson. Coach, how the heck are you?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we appreciate you being here, Coach. We want to talk to you about a lot of things, but obviously, your season ended, and there are a lot of things behind that and that you're dealing with. So first, walk us through how this came to you. What you were doing, where you were, when you started to realize we're in big trouble here with losing the season.
Yeah, it was a very strange day, as I'm sure you've heard from a lot of people in athletics and coaches and players. We were, the previous week we had a great road win at the University of Texas. We won our series against the University of Houston at home that weekend. We were having a great week of practice preparing for Oregon State in the Pac-12 opener. Really good practices on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and getting prepared for Pac-12 opener, full speed ahead. Everything's going good. And then I believe Wednesday night they sent out something saying, hey, we were going to play the series, but there was going to be no fans in High Corbett. And you're kind of like, whoa, that's going to be different. That's going to be strange. And then Thursday morning, when we were in the office, we got on a conference call, and we're talking through with Dave Hickey, with Erica Barnes, our athletic staff, what we're going to do, what's going on. And then actually during that phone call, right before we were going to have our team meeting that day, the NCAA came out and said they'd canceled the NCAA basketball tournament, and they canceled all the spring championships. And so, the first thing you're thinking, wow, no College World Series, and then the trickle-down effect of that of like, wow, the season is over. And so I got off that call, and as I was looking out on the field, there were several of our players just kind of like standing out there. It looked like they got hit by a truck. And rightfully so. Like I said, we were going 1,000 miles an hour, totally engaged in what we believed was going to be a great season, a good start to the Pac-12, and then somebody tells you the season is over. So we went in the locker room and did the best we could with it and just kind of talked through some things. And really the message I tried to give that day was, hey, our goals have not changed. Our destination of where we want to end up is not changing. It's just going to be delayed a little bit. And it's by something that's out of our control, and we need to learn more about what's going on and then try to respond in a positive fashion. And that's what we've been trying to do, be competitive every day with the things we can without a season. So it's been tough, and that was definitely a day I'll never forget.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, in the days after that, so there had to be a lot of questions, a lot of guys wondering, what am I going to do? You got guys who thought, I'm going to be going pro after this year. all those kinds of things. And a lot of that stuff is still up in the air. But, in the days after that, and as it started to settle in that we don't have a season anymore, things like the Major League Baseball draft, or everything's changing. What kinds of things were you talking to the players about? What kinds of questions did they have, and what were they thinking with all this going on?
Yeah, the first thing that we did was we needed to make sure everybody was safe, and whether that was, sheltering in place here in Tucson, if you will, which a couple of our players decided to do. But for the majority of them, they went home to their families, where they grew up, and have proceeded to take the rest of this semester with online courses. And, all their in-person classes were transferred to online. And really we put our focus on, okay, what can we control, or what can we control? And the first thing was academics. And they're in their dead week right now leading up to finals. Everybody's been doing a pretty good job there. And we're looking forward to them, finishing this semester productively academically. So that was really the first thing that we wanted to get taken care of. Then there was a lot of questions about eligibility. Would the NCAA grant everybody a year of relief, which they did, which I was definitely in agreement with, regardless of, how it impacts our direct program. Just on fundamental principle, it was the right thing to do. I mean, we only played 15 games. And it was something out of all of our players' control, kind of like an injury. And if they all had gotten injured 15 games into the season, they could appeal it and get another year of eligibility. So I was really happy that the NCAA decided to do that. And then there's been a little bit of a period of uncertainty with, what's going to happen with the Major League Baseball draft, how that impacts maybe some thoughts for some of our players, how many rounds is it going to be. And then there's some guys that, are really invested in what we're doing that, aren't quite ready to let go of this chapter of their life, and kind of feel like we have some unfinished business. We really liked where we were heading as a team. And so, yeah, maybe some of those guys will return. A couple of them might move on to pro baseball, but there's still a lot to be said relative to those types of things.
Coach, I had Mike Condrea on maybe about 3 weeks ago. He's going through the same thing, obviously. A lot of his girls are coming back for a senior year. It's going to be a heck of a roster. I'm sure you've kind of looked at your roster and how it's going to look. It's going to be a crazy time.
Yeah, for sure. We're still working through some of those things. I think the thing that's a little different with baseball and softball, obviously, is the presence of the Major League Baseball draft. And a lot of players, top juniors across the country, typically sign a pro contract and don't return for their senior year. I know, and I'm very happy for Coach Candrea, because I know he really is fond of this class and that senior class, and they were rolling. I think they were like 20-2 or 24-3 or something like that. And that's great for all those girls to be able to finish it out the way that they would like to. We had a very small senior class on the flip side with only 4 players, and 2 of those guys have indicated they're going to move on with their life and do some things. Both have jobs lined up already and are great guys and represented our program really well. And 2 of them have expressed an intent to return, which we're very happy about as well. And we feel like those guys can be positive contributors. And then, it's just kind of a wait and see, like I said, what's going to happen with the draft and how that's going to impact. We have an outstanding recruiting class. In my opinion, it's the best one we've had since I've been the coach here. And on top of that, we had several, juniors that are good players that are definitely professional players, but it might make more sense for them to return, put themselves in position to finish their degree, and then move on after next year when they're still going to have the leverage of being a junior because they got this year reinstated. So lot up in the air still.
How's this time for you? Obviously, I think you're a competitor, obviously, and you don't get a chance to compete. And I'm always a believer competitors love to compete, and you can't do that.
Man, you hit the nail right on the head right there. I mean, there was a good week to 10 days where went through a few stages of, first one was just disbelief, like what's going on. And then as you kind of learned a little bit more about the coronavirus and the impact and how it's transmitted, it started to make a lot more sense to me why things were done the way that they were done. And then once I kind of had that understanding, you could accept it a little bit better because everybody's safety, that's the most important thing. We love baseball, and there's nothing more important in my life than the Arizona Wildcats, you know what I mean, and what we're doing on the baseball diamond. But kind of went through that, and then, you mentioned the word compete and find ways to be able to do that. What kind of planning can we do? What kind of professional development can I do? What type of recruiting for future years can I do? And our coaching staff, we meet on the Zoom calls 3 times a week. And I've been on the phone probably with like 12 or 15 players just today, checking in and seeing how they're doing. And it's been productive, and you don't get to enjoy the fruits of the labor, which is the competition in the season.
Well, I was going to ask, Coach, when was the last time it was May and you weren't either on the field coaching or playing? I mean, are we talking T-ball, before T-ball, or something like that?
Probably when I was 4 or 5 years old. So out of 38, 37 years ago, something like that.
And it's just amazing that we're sitting here in May and there's no baseball going on. So after the break, we want to talk about your team and what you kind of expect for next year. But I wanted to bring something up because it's something that it interests me in terms of the way players are drafted for Major League Baseball, the way they've done it versus what's going on with college basketball and how they're doing that. So there's been a lot of debate that if you get rid of the one and done in college basketball, it's going to dilute the game and all that kind of stuff. But college baseball has been doing this forever, and we had a caller yesterday who called about college baseball and do I like college baseball? I love college baseball, and I've never thought that the kids coming out of high school going straight to the pros diminish the game. I mean, it's a great game. It seems to me that they're barking up a tree that they don't need to bark up on the NBA side because the experience over here is that college baseball is a great game.
Yeah, I am a college baseball coach and at a great program. And sometimes, when I voice my opinion on it, people feel like it's slanted towards what we're doing. But I'm a big believer in the college route. Now, the way I say it is there's probably 15 picks, 20 picks into the draft where if you're one of those first 20 picks out of high school, I mean, you could fall flat on your face and not be successful and probably still have success financially in life if you take care of your money. However, that still does not guarantee you success in baseball. I just think as invested as programs and coaching staffs and universities are in the development of young people, educationally, socially, emotionally, physically, skill-wise in the sport that we're talking about, you're going to get better. You're going to transition into manhood, and then 3 years later or 36 months later, you're now in a position to take on everything that being a pro baseball player entails with much more maturity, with a lot more tools in your belt. And so I think 99.9% of the players should go to college. The thing that unfortunately changes that sometimes is money. But when you get to the meat and the guts of the competition, it's like these guys are invested. Like, we want to go to Omaha. We want to win a national championship. We want to win a Pac-12 championship. It's really the last time that the players, in our sport are playing for something other than themselves. Being a Wildcat is a big deal to them, and representing our university and trying to win games is a big deal to them. And then when you go to professional baseball, you're on your own team. It's all about you. Think about the concept of the minor leagues. You're playing with players on your team who you're competing with ultimately to get to the major leagues. And so it's just a much different environment, and both have positives. I'm just a big believer in the college path to professional baseball.
No question. When we come back on the other side, in fact, we just have about 30 seconds left here for the first segment, is maybe the structure, because everyone wants college basketball to be like college baseball. If you're going to come, you have a certain amount of years. If you're coming to college, you got to spend 2 or 3 years in college. No one and dones, no jumping ship, nothing. You're committed. So we'll get your thoughts on that and then come back and talk more about your team, and I'd like to know more about you. Is that cool, Coach?
looking forward to it.
Okay, great. Well, let's come back here with Coach Johnson, here with Jay, and come back here on 1030 The Voice. Hey, welcome back to Y on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm here with Jay Gonzales. I'm Steve Rivera and Coach Johnson on the phone. So, Coach, I'm sure you hear it tons of times, too. If basketball could do what baseball does, it would be a better life for many people, coaches included. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't, we don't really recruit in the same circles, and it's a different dynamic, and there's a lot of money to be made immediately for those basketball players where they go, a lot of them go straight to the pros. And I'm not educated enough on the process to be able to speak like on the G League or how that is relative to maybe the minor leagues in baseball. But you think about, I think we had Alonzo Trier a couple years ago. He stayed for 3 years, got to the NBA, got a contract. DeAndre Ayton. I mean, that would be my question, I guess. Would you have rather not have DeAndre Ayton? I mean, that guy was special. You know what I mean?
Right.
And what a player. So there's pluses and minuses to everything. I think, thinking back at like Arizona basketball, like over the time period, those players that stayed for 3 or 4 years, Stoudemire, Steve Kerr, T.J. McConnell, all these guys that the fans can really identify with them better if they're here for a longer period of time.
Yeah, no question.
And I think that's probably where their feeling lies. I've had conversations with Coach Miller in the past. Like, man, sometimes it is nice to coach a 22 or 23-year-old player, and there's some advantages to that. But in basketball, there's also a balance in terms of talent and, getting that talent. And if you can have them for 1 year, Kentucky's done a pretty good job with it. And I just don't think it's a one-size-fits-all model, and that rule is not going to make or break anybody. Just like anything else, you always have to adapt to what the rules are and do the best you can.
Well, I, for one, am in the camp of I like what baseball does, and I wish they'd do pretty much the same thing in basketball. So let's talk about your team. And I know there's still a lot of uncertainty because of, again, we talked about, some of the players getting an additional year, other players who are going to get the additional year but don't know if they're going to take advantage of it, what's going to happen in the draft. But, from where you sit right now, what are you thinking about your team next year? And here's another question. How important is fall ball going to be to you guys this year?
Yeah, both great questions. I'm excited about the potential of our team. Obviously, I'll know a lot more about that post-draft, and that's relative to both the guys that were on our roster this year and our incoming recruits. I think we've done a nice job of blending, a group that was off to a good start and had some good performances, and we're hoping to get another year under their belt to add to their experiences and a really talented group together. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited about that, the possibilities, on paper. And I think if a few guys make solid decisions relative to next year and what will benefit them the most, which I believe for most of them that will be being at Arizona, and I could, talk about a few of them, but we're hoping that a few of those guys make the decision to return, and if they do, I like where our team's at. I think fall ball, as you mentioned, everybody's saying like, wow, college baseball is going to be stacked with good players across the board, and that very well may be true, but we might be walking into a season where they haven't had their regular process of the season before, of summer baseball, of a typical fall baseball. So there's a lot of training. We don't just twiddle our thumbs out there. We're working and we're trying to get guys better. And so I have a little uneasiness, with that. And we're constantly talking about ways throughout the summer that we can accelerate our players' development with the constraints that we have. And we'll continue to do that. But trust me, I'd love to be in the cages and on the field with them every day.
So you were going through about 15 games, you said. Did you already have a feel of what was going to happen down the road? Coaches get a feel, good or bad or whatever. Did you have that feel of maybe possibly doing really well in the coming months that are now gone?
I did. Yeah, I did. And I felt very confident about it. And honestly, the longer we went along, the better I felt. And I'll give you a couple of reasons why. We're 15 games into it. If we had a couple games where we didn't play great or didn't hit, we had one game where we didn't pitch particularly well, we responded in a positive fashion after each loss. We never lost 2 games in a row. And I think that said a lot about the character, the stick-to-itiveness, the resiliency of the group that we had, the maturity of the group that we had. So that was the first thing. The second thing is we were pitching much better than we did the previous year. We brought in Coach Yeski, and he was doing a tremendous job with the pitching staff. And then the pitching recruits that were all new this year were exactly who we thought they were in terms of their ability to just do one thing, and that was throw strikes and compete in the strike zone. So we weren't giving up a ton of free bases. We were responding well to adversity, and our offense was rounding into form, and we've been so good offensively. Like, I looked up at the end of the day, and I think we were averaging like 7.8 runs a game, and it felt like we hadn't quite got going yet. And the last week or 5-6 games, we were really rounding into form offensively. So I think that was going to be good. I felt like we had the defense in place. And it was kind of a unique year in the Pac-12, where last year we were extremely young. I mean, we were starting 5 freshmen, towards the end of the season when we were really playing well, and a lot of the other teams were old and had moved on. So I think we were kind of well positioned to head into Pac-12 play as a little bit more of an experienced team than maybe some of the top competitors. And just more importantly than anything, I liked the makeup of our team and how that was showing itself. And so, yeah, I'm disappointed. There's certainly days of like, man, we'd be getting ready for UCLA this next weekend and thinking about how great that series would have been at High Corbett and our fans. And and that's that's our rival, really, if you really want to get down to it in terms of baseball, and it's competitive and recruiting and on the field and all of those types of things. So yeah, that's where that competition bug comes in, and said, man, I wish we really had that going this weekend.
Who are some of the guys that you can single out that were, had really stepped up for you and were, showing some leadership and, playing well on the field and just doing all the things that you needed to do and that you need to have to be a really good team? Who were some of those guys?
Yeah, I thought we were really complete, and what I mean by that is it didn't have to be the same guy every night. And I think we had several wins where it was a different guy every night. I think if you had to point to one guy, I mean, just in terms of consistency and performance, I mean, everybody knows about Austin Wells. I mean, he's probably going to be drafted in the first round, and I kind of know how Coach Miller feels with these one-and-done guys. We got 1 year and 15 games at Austin, and when I think about the frustration of this coronavirus, that's one of the things that's up at the top, because it's difficult to get a player like him to college and through the professional draft out of high school. But he was off to a good start, and I think he was only getting better. He had really improved as a catcher and was continued to take professional at-bats. Matt Dyer was an interesting one who he really hadn't gotten going yet, but then you looked up and he still had like 18 or 19 RBIs and was really rounding into form, hit a big 3-run home run at Texas, hit 3 home runs in the last 5 games, and was really starting to pick up his production. I think Dante Williams was kind of the catalyst of our offense, kind of like that point guard, really setting the table. Seemed like he was on base or over at third base with me coaching third at, 3 times a game, which led to runs. I think he was like in the top 10 in the country in runs scored. So those guys were kind of the offensive guys making it happen. Jacob Blass, really, who we missed the previous year due to an injury, was really rounded into form as a good player and a key piece of what we were doing. Ryan Holgate, was leading our team in hitting at the time of the break. I think he was hitting upwards of 380, and if you've been out to our field, you know how talented he is. Brandon Bossier, just consistent. So I really liked where the offense was, but really I think the best improvement I saw was on the mound. And like I alluded to before, it was just our pitchers filling up the zone, with strikes. The rotation was doing well. Garrett Irvin, little short competitive lefty that threw 4 pitches for strikes on Fridays, always was pitching deep into the game, putting us in a good position. Vince Benelli, when we had the game, or the lead, was really coming in out of the bullpen and doing some great things. Preston Price alongside him, doing a really good job out of the bullpen. And, the other couple starters, Quinn Flanagan, Chandler Murphy, just across the board with the pitching staff, the strike zone pressure that we were applying was outstanding to see.
Let me change gears real quick. One of the questions that someone asked me to ask you, you've been here about a handful of years now. How has the local talent been? What have you seen from it? Is it up and coming? What are your thoughts on that?
Good question. I think it's something we're always going to pay attention to. I think if there's a good player here, the good part about that is they typically grow up wanting to be Wildcats, and I think that's awesome. And I think there's some pride that can be taken in that. The thing that is interesting with our job is a great player is a great player no matter where they come from. And with that, we have to have a certain type of pitcher, hitter, defensive player that can execute in the Pac-12. And there's certainly been some good ones from Tucson. And, if there's good ones, and we're on a couple of them and recruiting them right now, which I'm not allowed to talk about.
Right. Don't do it. Don't do it.
We hope they make a decision to be Wildcats at some point. So I do appreciate the high school baseball coaching in Arizona. I think that's very good, and I think that it shows in the positive development of players throughout the state.
Well, Jay, just real quick, we've only got about a minute, but what advice would you give to even a local kid who has that dream? I want to play, I want to play baseball at Arizona someday. What do you as a coach tell them? Okay, this is what we're looking for. This is what you need to be doing. This is how you'll get our attention.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think in general, young players, they're a little more, they've been exposed to more things relative to the internet, social media, and a lot of things can be about image as opposed to substance. And what I mean by that is everybody wants to put it out there, hey, I committed to this school, look at me, this and that, where not to worry about the end result of where you're going to end up so much, but put your focus and be relentless at what you need to do to be the best that you can be. And for a lot of them, it might be strength or speed or individual skill relative to their position. Just being as relentless and competitive as they can be at developing to be the best that they can be, and then you can accept the results no matter what. Don't put the results ahead of the process of what it takes to be as good as you can.
Well, that's perfect, Coach. We so appreciate you spending this half hour with us. It was really informative. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys look like going down the road. I've always been a big college baseball fan, and I got a lot of history. Maybe someday we spend some more time talking about it. So thanks so much. We appreciate it, and have a great evening.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Take care.
Let's take a quick break here on 1030 The Voice. Come back on the other side, talk to Eric Rhodes. Hey, welcome back to Eye on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. Here with Jay Gonzales and me, Steve Rivera. Now with Eric Rhodes from the Arizona Bowl. How are you, Eric?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you doing?
We're just living life, having fun over here. We're got this show going last Friday, and trying to get the word out about a lot of things going on. So we wanted to talk to you a little bit about this Arizona Sports Together coronavirus relief raffle that you guys are doing and that you're involved in. And so, first of all, tell us a little bit about it, how this thing came together, and the Arizona Bowl became a part of it.
Absolutely. I want to say first, thanks to you guys. You've always been, right on top of helping get the Bowl's message out there, including things like this. So we're grateful for our media partners, like Eye on the Ball. You guys are fantastic. And now with Mr. Gonzales, even a little bit better, Steve. I mean, you were good already, but
I'm just going to go out and say we got better looking. How's that?
Hey, now that's debatable.
Like but as far as the Arizona Sports Together, all of us in the sports world were looking for a way for us to be involved in an appropriate way during this pandemic. All of us are in the same place of having to make pay cuts or salaries or whatever it is, but also being in the unique space that people are looking to us to do something, to help the community. And certainly at the Arizona Bowl, that's been part of our mission since day one. It's how can we give back to the community. So it originated out of some of the Phoenix properties, and they got in contact with us and said, is this something you would want to be involved in? We said, absolutely. It's easy for us to do. The experiences that are on here from all 17 major sports properties, really the emphasis is on things that money can't buy per se, even though this is a raffle for money to buy. That's not usually available to the public. Like, for instance, with the Arizona Bowl, you'd have an opportunity to attend our private player party, which is not open to the public or the media. We do not have guests at it. It's only for the teams and their families. So you would have a chance to attend that this year, and it's really a very cool experience. And the same thing across the whole website. There's, so many amazing experiences that are being offered. We couldn't pass up the opportunity to do it. All the proceeds are going to the Arizona Coronavirus Relief Fund for the state. So, doing whatever we can to be a small part of a solution while we're all settling in to deal with this problem.
Well, it's a great idea. I'm sure you're glad to be part of it, and they're going to probably raise a ton of money because there's a lot of surely some great gifts, and the prices for the tickets pretty good.
Yeah, I mean it ranges. I mean, down for 25 tickets for $100, 5 tickets for 50, 1 for 20, and it's a true raffle. So I mean, throw your odds in there, and you have a chance to win some pretty cool stuff. All 3 of the major state universities, really 4 with Grand Canyon, are involved in some of the things you can win on their side, including right here at the University of Arizona is pretty cool, along with, all the professional franchises as well. Even stuff to the waste management. It's just a cool opportunity to get involved, and when the money's going back to help our own. I mean, we all know at this point somebody's been touched by this pandemic. So, when you can give back in a way that's easy for us to give back, and like I said, just a small piece to come together to help the community in this time is an awesome opportunity.
Well, that's again, it's a great thing that you guys are doing. So let's talk a little bit about the Arizona Bowl and what's going on over there around the office. I mean, we know that your your event isn't until December, but it depends on there being college football. So what's some of the what are you guys going through, and what are you thinking about? What's going to happen?
We're in the same boat as just about everybody else. Is taking it. It's such sports cliche, and the two of you, I know of all people, can appreciate this. We're just going to take it day by day, try to execute our game plan. It's one of those things where we're moving forward as if our date is December 31st with kickoff at 2:30. Things change daily in the sports world as to what may happen, what may not happen. We're staying very optimistic, and we think we have a little bit of cause to be optimistic that although things may be shortened and delayed in the college football season itself, we're going to go off without a hitch. But in the case that, we get moved back a little bit, we're ready to go whenever it is. It's the beauty of how our community has supported us that we're confident whenever we kick off right here at Arizona Stadium, folks are going to turn up to give back to our community.
Well, you have some good people working, yourself, and you have Kim Madera, obviously, and Ollie. Sure, you guys probably hunker down in your own places now, working via Zoom and all that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the battle of the virtual background to see what, you can get the best virtual background up there. But yeah, I mean, we've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings. We just met an hour or so ago with, our committee members, which is over 50 community members here, who just are volunteers and ready to help. And one of the things we're doing from home is, calling all of our partners that we've worked with, seeing, hey, what do you guys need right now? Like, we don't have money to give. A lot of people don't have money to give at the time. Finances are unstable in a lot of different organizations. So we're trying to just give a little manpower. If you need to move boxes, if you need to deliver some food, we got in touch with Track Therapeutic Riding, and they said, hey, can some folks come out and help exercise the horses? And so we're going to have our committee go out and do that. Just like you guys, we're all trying to do our part to help Tucson right now and Southern Arizona as a whole move through this and hopefully get to a point where we're starting to fill Arizona Stadium for every event that Arizona Stadium holds and the TCC holds. I know, Jay, that's very personal in your life right now. I mean, there's a lot of things out there that people who are we're doing a lot of really, really great work are going to get to see that in fruition in 2020. So if we get that opportunity, we want to make sure we do those who didn't have opportunity to make their things happen. We want to do them proud.
Yeah, well, Eric, we got to have you on when we have some more time to talk about a lot of different things, when things maybe hopefully open up for everybody involved, and see where you guys are going through. Yeah, we're hoping. Everybody's hoping. Well, thanks for coming on for this short version, and we'll get you back here maybe in a 3 weeks.
Looking forward to it, guys. Good luck. Great to have you guys back on the air together.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
That was Eric Rhodes from the Arizona Bowl. Them working a lot of cool things, obviously. And the thing is, if you get some tickets, you can put it in your own slot.
Right. The way this thing works is that you let's say you're one of those, you buy 5 raffle tickets. You can put one in each pot for what you're looking for. So
Right.
it's not like they're going to draw and you get this or you get that. You get to pick where your money's going
Right,
in
right.
terms of what prize you're trying to get. So it sounds like a lot of fun.
My
And
thing
there's
is,
some good prizes in
If you're
here.
going to
some good
buy them,
experiences.
don't you think you bet 25 for 100? That's $4 a ticket. Not
Yeah, exactly. And some of these things that they're doing, you can hang out with Brian Jeffries at an Arizona football game.
waste management.
Yeah, the waste management. Have
you been to
golf
that?
tournament? I've been to it, but I haven't been to the 16th hole.
The craziness?
the,
Yeah.
the craziness of that.
We got 5 minutes here. This is something I wanted to talk to you about because I think it's kind of funny. A lot of people talk to me about your first show on Friday, talking about your Fernando Valenzuela story. So, because this has been years ago, obviously. You're like, what about the comedian? The comedian? I just lost his
George
name.
Lopez.
George Lopez.
Oh my God.
I have my own, but go ahead and George. I have my own.
Yes. And here's a really funny story about that. So one Christmas, my sister drew me. We draw each other now, so because our family's so big, and my sister Elaine drew my name, and she got me a gift, and I opened the gift, and it's a bobblehead. And it looked just like me, and I still got it. And she put my name on the bottom of it, and I'm like, "How did you get a bobblehead made of me?" And she said, "It's not you, it's George Lopez." So it was a George Lopez bobblehead, but it looked just like me.
Yeah, that's funny.
So I've been confused for him as well. Especially there was one time I put a couple of pictures of one of me and one of him together and sent it to a couple of friends of mine because we were laughing about it. But yeah, I've been accused of that as well.
Yeah, back maybe 25 years ago, I had first kind of arrived into Tucson. I got a call from an older woman. She says, "I need you to help me. I'm desperate. I need you to help me." And I'm thinking, okay, you called it Tucson Citizen. So how can I help you, ma'am? Well, my son's in prison, and I know you can get him out. And I'm thinking, okay, how do you want me to do it, ma'am? She says, well, your brother Geraldo he can help you get him out. I'm thinking, what are you talking about? Well, your brother's Geraldo. I said, ma'am, let's stop there.
That's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. But yeah, I've been accused of that. I've been accused of looking like Fernando, but I've never signed an autograph saying I was that guy or anything like that. But it's been close. It's been close.
Yeah. What about you collect autographs?
No, I used to, and actually, it's funny. I went away from that when I became a reporter.
Yeah.
And that was because it was kind of like taboo if you're a reporter
Sure.
to be asking for autographs.
Mhm.
And so I really never did. Before I told the Fernando story when I saw him at a baseball game, and I wasn't a sports writer yet or anything like that, so I did ask for an autograph that day. But I did ask for an autograph one time, and it was just to do a favor for the father-in-law of a friend of mine, and he needed Barry Switzer's autograph, and he needed it really bad. And I'm like, okay, and I covered an Arizona game Arizona played at Oklahoma.
I was there.
I
Yeah.
think it was 88.
Yeah.
I think it was 88 season, and it was Switzer's last year, and I
Mhm.
think we kind of knew it was going to be his last year. And
How did you pull that off?
well, when I went into the locker room, the Oklahoma locker room after
Mhm.
the game, I had ripped a page out of the game program, which was up in the media area, and it was the page that had the team picture, and I just on the sly made sure none of the other writers were
Yeah.
looking, and he was walking out, and I just walked over and I said, "Can you sign this real quick, please?" And he just really quick signed it, and I got it, and until he died, that guy had that thing framed.
Oh,
so
not Switzer, the other guy.
not Switzer,
Yeah.
the guy that I gave it to. He was really happy to get it, and he was from Oklahoma, and it was his one chance to get the autograph. And
Right. Well, then a
did
year
that.
later, they come here.
A year later, they come here,
and
but Barry
Arizona-
Switzer was not the coach anymore.
And Arizona beats them
And
6-3.
Arizona beat him 6-3
Yeah.
in a game that I'll never forget. I was standing on the sidelines. I dug Pfaff,
Yep.
kicked a field goal, and it was leaking oil the minute it got up in the air, and there was no way that ball
Right.
was going to get there, and then it did. If you've ever heard the TV call on that, Bruce Larson was the
I don't
was the
remember
color
that.
guy, and the ball goes up, and you very lightly, but you can hear it. Bruce Larson says, "Missed it." And then it got there, and Dave Sitton was on the call, and he's screaming, "It's good, it's good!" And the place went nuts. And I was standing on the sidelines, and that's about as nutty as I ever saw Arizona Stadium.
Because that's when it was late in the game. Obviously, at the end of the game, we get to go down from the media room to down there, and we're waiting to go in the locker room. I was there too. It was 6-3, one of those games where it's between the 20s. No one's moving the ball. And finally, it was the Dick Tomey's imagine. If you imagine it, it'll happen.
Exactly. And again, one of those memorable games, certainly for me as a writer.
Yeah, one of the best 6-3 games I've ever seen, baseball or football or otherwise.
Exactly. So I'm hoping we get some more of those coming up in the fall. It's God, I'm just so nervous about it.
Yeah. Tomorrow, big show. We have Nick Johnson on the line tomorrow. Should be fun.
Should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to talking to Nick.
Thanks, Jay. Hostage day number 3 with Jay and I.
Thanks everybody for being here.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Here we go.